I like it when it just looks like a luscious locks. Like, just feel the yin flowing through you, man. Okay, after that comment, I'm just going to hop straight into it. It's actually fitting because we've got the colors on my head. Chinese for BC Cutie and England for Puppy Paw. Let's go to Altai. Oh, God. What a day this has been. Shout out to all the people for their support so far. Almost $300 now raised for Stack Up in just one stream. I'm actually over the moon. We didn't give much like for warning about this. I didn't do like a social media build up. We just came in and you guys are already delivering and you're absolute stars for it. All right, let's focus on the game because we are in Altai. BCQ has picked the Chinese. So this is going to go into Imperial and he's going to build loads of walls, right? That's how that works. Let's find out. BCQ has a pretty interesting approach the way he plays Chinese. Whenever I see him in Altai, he actually like carves the maps up into chunks, right? He kind of slowly makes his way through to new areas to take control. Let's see if he gets control of this game, because, you know, if you are the Chinese, you're probably thinking of later timing, and that could be a little bit risky up against the English. As if that, I'd say at least half of the top players, the top 8 at Golden League, said the English were the de facto kings of late game Age of Empires 4. Now, getting there is the challenge, but if you are able to dig super deep in, 50 minutes in, everything is maxed out, everything is drained dry, there is no beating this Civ long-term in an equal match situation. If you have maybe 3/4 of the map, different situation. But let's say you carved it up now, you each got 50%, and you said, we'll only start fighting in an hour. English tend to look a lot prettier. So opening-wise, we are going to see the Imperial official over here on the berries. And by the way, like I was kind of curious about this in my mind, and I was like, I was thinking about doing the maths, but I don't feel like I need to do the maths. So the reason why you choose to stick, even on Altai, your mill down on the berries as opposed to the deer. The deer do offer up a lot more food, yes, but they offer up a lot less tax. And tax is very important for the Chinese early on because a lot of Chinese players try to dodge going hard into gold. We see BC has gone there, though. But the cool thing about prioritizing tax here is that you'll build this up as a reserve when you're forced off your gold. It's very likely you are going to be forced off your gold when you're up against a tempo-aggressive Civ like the English. And by the way, the reason why this builds up so much more tax is if you go on the deer, you gather up to 25 food before you drop off. And remember, you generate tax every time your villagers drop off. So right now, you can see that his villagers are going up to 10 every... You can't eat that. Stop. No, you don't eat that. Okay, I think this is intentional, BC. Remember, he hasn't got the lumber camp yet because he went to the gold mine. Anyway, as you can see, they're returning 10 food. They go up to 10, they return it, which means you're getting more tax efficiency here. You're actually getting 2.5 times more tax efficiency on the mill than you are on the deer. And even after you get wheelbarrow, you're still getting 2 times tax efficiency because while you gain 14 food, over here, by having the wheelbarrow, you'll gain 30. So there you go. Just thought I'd explain that because I remember I was talking a little bit about it in the middle of a one of the EDC official streams. It's nice to kind of like emphasize to people the reason, the logic behind it. Looks like the Barbican is going to be stationed ahead. So BC's trying to guard his stone. I'm actually okay with this. It's really nice to get your hands on Imperial Academy first if you can. But in this situation, like, you have to get the Barbican. If you look at the layout of BC's base, we already highlight the gold's exposed to a tempo-aggressive Civ, which is what the English can be. But on top of that, your stone is far out as well. Everything is full to your base. Like, in a lot of ways, BC got a pretty rough spawn here. I'm trying to think of the upside. Like, even the wood lines, look how exposed this one is. He didn't actually get anything good about this spawn. Like, I'm not exaggerating. Like, this is a very bad spawn for a Chinese player. You haven't got choke points to guard with a Barbican. Your stone is far out from your TC at the front. Your gold is far out on the side. Both your wood lines are near your gold as well, so there's maximum like value for an outpost rush. But BC, his approach to this is actually really good. I feel like he looked at the situation and very quickly adapted, where some players might kind of just go with the flow, do their standard Chinese opening, and find themselves blocked off a resource or two. And this is going to change the way that Puppy Paw approaches the game, and you can see it already. He scouted out this information, he's going to back off entirely. He's not going to rush up for feudal because there's no value now. It's just better to stabilize your eco for a later game because, like or lumper, this one's going long. I think you guys like it when we get to watch some Poppy Paw Beastie late game, right? I mean, this is the test now. See how good Poppy Paw can be if he can just be nigh on unbeatable. I mean, for those that watched his performance in week number 2, you know this guy's serious. We already knew he was serious before, but his improvements have been phenomenal. So for those unfamiliar with what happened on the weekend, Poppy Paw was able to beat Marine Lord in a best of 5, 3-1. He only lost one game, and it was the game where he chose to be cheesy with a rush attempt on Altai, actually, in this specific matchup where he was playing the Chinese. It backfired. It gave Marine Lord 1 point. But that recovery was short-lived. And the impressive part, actually, is outside that one game, Poppy Paw has yet, in 2 weekends, to drop any additional games. He 2-0'd his way all the way to the finals. And then last weekend, he actually had to default win, or give a default win, rather, to Beastie because of technical issues with his keyboard. So he didn't actually lose a match on that weekend. He just had to forfeit. And honestly, he's become one of my favorite players so quickly. I'm really hyped for this guy. Like, honestly, I know I'm not meant to have favorites. I'm not meant to be biased. I don't have favorites. I've said this to other people. I've like measured up and said some of the people I expect to already see at making it to the LAN on Wallol, to see on stage there. And I think that this is one of them. I think David Kim, who is Poppy Paw, I feel like we all know that by now. I've said it so many times, is going to be there. He's definitely talented enough. I mean, it's kind of crazy as well. Like, you know, can you make that bold of a statement? I think there's like some clear people that are very hard to compete with. Like, the performance of Poppy Paw, realistically, I feel like if he just gets like reasonably to decent to, you know, not totally mediocre performances for a lot more of these weeklies, based on his 2 performances already, on 2 weekends, making it to day number 2 and winning one of them, he's going to be very high on the weekly points alone, let alone what we talk about when it comes to monthlies. Because remember, at the end of each of these months for the road to Rebel Wallalo, 2 players will qualify through to the LAN. And considering that we are fast approaching week number 3, which means after that, we're in the monthly. Right now, out of the players not qualified, who would you put above Poppy Paw to qualify? Any names come to mind? The Muslim, maybe? Possibly. Those 2 seem the most likely. It's kind of crazy. I think like, in some people's mind, they have to be reminded the Muslim hasn't qualified. Considering how consistent he is and how he's always at the top of the leaderboards, like, it's very easy to forget that he didn't make it to Wallol yet. So far, the qualified players are Beastie, Lenok, Marine Lord, and Viper. Viper that we probably will not see in Age of Empires 4 until that tournament. He's hard in the grind of AOT. Shout out to the Snake, the AoE goat. Look at this, Beastie. Yeah, I was about to say, don't do that, not the straggler tree. Let's focus on the game, though. We're a few minutes in. We can see that the builds are starting to emerge. It's going to be the double TC with Song Dynasty. On the other side, it looks like it's going to be a rush up into Castle Ace of Poppy Paw, trying to gap close upon that eco differential. Could even look to play into multi-TCs, but I think that's a bit too greedy. I think instead, like, he could condense his resources and rush towards Imperial. But you're going to want to find a way of maybe, like, staking a claim in BC space first. An outright rush could be overly greedy. So we'll see how it goes. Poppy Paw. Wondering if there is a play here just to begin the castle, like maybe Knights. He is moving 1 or 2 Lombos out, but this is just to like force some reaction. It's actually going to be interesting to see if BC falls to this, because right now there's only 1 Lombo. There's literally nothing else being pushed. I wonder. Well, he's going to have to build something, right? He could build another outpost. Gunslit's going to take a while. In fact, yeah, Poppy's just realized there's still no gunslits. Oh, I love that. He just pokes his head in. He's like, well, you can't kill me in 1 hit. Whoop. Just in time. And now, yep, there it is. Now he knows that it's in place. The Longbow can't do anything anymore. And it looks like he will have to just accept he's not going to get any engagement. The reason he was trying to bait for engagement is he actually wants to slow down BC's timing slightly. And the funny part is, like, he's also now switching into stables, into Knights. So what could have ended up happening here is BC could have ended up, like, building an archery range to try and counter out the Lombo rush that might be coming. And then he would have been discounted at a complete disadvantage. But the read was really good by Beastie. He didn't just rush troops out. He He just waited. He's like, okay, that's just one Lombo. One Lombo is not going to stop me. By the way, the reason he knows it's not coming, or what's coming next, is this. Always do this, guys. This is something I always try to emphasize to people. Improve your scout. Like, I think it's one of the biggest ways you can improve your gameplay because scouting informs a lot of what you do. Age of Empires 4 is a game of counters. At the heart of it, it's truly about counters. So if you can see what your opponent's doing next, you can make decisions based on that. Now, at a lower level, that might be something simple as saying, he pushed knights, me push spears, or crossbows. At a high level, you start to get into these other details. Oh, he's only gone for like one stable. He's gone for 3. If he's gone for 3, he's incredibly all in on it. So you need to just hard counter. Oh, he's gone for a monastery. That's going to delay his build-up timings on these knights. These type of pieces of information will feed back, and BC will know what to do with this info and will act accordingly. In this situation, making his way up to castle, but he might even think about extending over this side, walling in, and going for 3 TCs. In fact, we'll see if BC goes into temples, because this is the risk now for Puppy Paw. He's built the monastery, but he's not that far ahead. BC's playing as the Chinese, so he can actually build up these structures quicker. And then on top of that, he can easily get his hands on the monks with the Superfires. The Superfires that actually gives you the increased push speed, right? You actually take a building and you make it 2.5 times effective. And there it is. There's the monastery. Spearman also just buffering away any troops coming in, so you had the perfect read. Takes a ballsy man to build Spearman up against English. Not when they build like this, it doesn't. Not when he gets the read. Not when he gets the scouting information. That's the difference. If you're blindly building spears against the English, I wouldn't advise it. But if you have the valid information, the justification, 100% worthwhile. Okay. So this is starting to look a lot like it could encroach and crawl towards Imperial. And if it does go Imperial, I do believe that at the start of Imperial, BC will be notably stronger because his eco should be better. You can see already he's built a 10 villager lead, and that'll keep increasing because you're at 3 TCs effective with Song Dynasty. But on top of that, like when you open up at the beginning, I think this nest of bees will have a lot more value. I think you also then have to consider the gunpowder units. You have to get about 10 to 15 minutes into the Imperials before I feel like the English take control. And they can take control, by the way. Like they can be ridiculously dominant because if they start crawling out with the network of castles, that attack speed aura is just disgusting to deal with. But it does take time to get there. Right now, it's going to take time to pick up these relics. How many is he on? Puppy Paw has only grabbed 1, hasn't got his reserve 1, can't get them on the north side. And I think Beastie already has 1 back, right? Or on the way. Well, there is 1 missing. Oh, wait, no. Puppy Paw is going to yoink that 1 too. So we can get both the south side ones. Wait, does he know about... Yeah. But Beastie doesn't. Typical Beastie. He wants all the infinite greed, but he doesn't even know where it all is. He'll at least get the reserve relic. Should be able to move up the northern one as well, guard him with the spears. That's going to be 2 going the way of Beastie. But 3 should be now going the way of Puppy Paw. He already banked the central one. And he has got the right side ones here. So that would be a net advantage for him. Surprisingly, it played out that way, considering that Beastie did rush into the monastery, wasn't that far behind the castle, and did supervise the monk push. I think he did, actually. I hope he did. If he didn't, then that was a missed trick. Now that we're here, those Nest of Beasts start to come out that we're talking about. I would love to see Beastie think about building towards a keep and then dropping it near the sacred site for like some sort of forward proxy base. But there is no pressure. Like I already highlighted, if you're both going to race Imperial, you're the one that has the good opening. I think it's actually more beneficial for Puppy Paw to play towards the center because gold reserves, like there's a clear like daisy chain route here. And then on top of that, the keep on the front line isn't just a static defense to cover his eco and his expansion. Actually, on top of that, when you play as the English, that's going to be the attack speed juicer that you need. Attacking over here. Looks like they snuck by. Damn, dude. That's tunnel vision right there. Oh, the Knight lost vision. I just love it when that happens with units. Like, oh, I forgot what I was doing here. What was I doing here? Running out the other side. Successfully, I might add. I actually don't think... Like, BC needs to pull more troops to get this now. Oh, God, he's going to do it again. No. No. That one longbow... He'll lose one or two spearmen, but he would kill the longbow. He needs to as well. Because otherwise, this monk's going to die. They're just camping it right now, so that's going to delay him further. And by the time you get the next monk out, Puppy Paw's already yoinked it. Oh, dear. Also, Brace coming out. Fight clash here, Puppy Paw. He could just take this fight right now. He'd lose one or two knights, but he would be able to kill the spears. Instead, he backs off. Interesting choice being made here because now the monk is moving in. We'll look to strike them now. He's got the assistance of Lombo. Upgrade comes out, but BCQT isn't going to get that true value out of it. Now this should be a return for the relic. Return for the relic. Yeah, he knows. Meanwhile, south side, BC. We said about him extending down to the south side of his base. He's now doing that. The walls are coming out. Nestaby's marching forward. Outpost already in place for Puppy Paw, so no strong keep defenses from either side. Instead, it's going to be a tech up. And Puppy Paw, he's going to be the one to blink first. BCQT hasn't done the same thing. BCQT continuing to invest that valuable gold into trying to get relics. He needs to sort his food, though. And this is actually one of the cool things about the dynamics of play here. You can see that in these situations, the English players can actually race ahead into Imperial. And the reason is that they set up their farms, their infinite food source, ahead of a civ like the Chinese. And when the Chinese do eventually do it, the cost is high. You're paying full price, where English players are paying 37 wood instead of 75. And on top of that, you usually want these granaries because they do pay for themselves long term. That's another hefty investment, 250 wood each. This all slows your timing down. And it means if both players are like outright rushing, it is feasible for a English player to match the timing, if not slightly exceed it. Now that he has actually exceeded it, you can see he's going hard in those Wingard Palace armies. This is going to stock up over time, so BCQT will want to try and find a way to punish this, because if you wait around too long, you know what's going to happen. Puppy Paw will start gathering on the stone, and he'll build into the keeps. And you can see that number already actually stacking up. 915, he's already ready for the first keep drop. Because BC's sitting here as a small castle age boy. He doesn't actually have access to quick siege yet. You ain't a big bombarder. You ain't the bombard warrior I've come to know. But eventually he will reach up. Eventually CGQT will be unleashed. You can see he's saving up now. Plenty of gold in reserve. The food just needs to match. And now that the farms are in full swing, folks, he's not going to be far behind. And this can be one of the weaknesses. Like the English, like I said, they can get up to Imperial faster, but where they can fall flat is at the beginning of Imperial. Remember what we said? Actually, the Chinese are stronger there at the beginning. It's later on where you really exploit the map. We're only 17 minutes, by the way, into the game. 18 minutes, and we're probably going to have both players, like 19 minutes max, probably both players are going to be up in Imperial, which is pretty incredible. But the cool thing to think about here is, like, because you are the Chinese and your opponent's English, you don't have to worry about them rushing Imperial, because the way they stockpile up, the way they stack up is slow, right? You eventually get these Wingard Palace armies every 1 minute and 15 seconds. You slowly siege in with trebs. You slowly move forward and build your outposts and keeps. And if I'm saying slow a lot, it's because they are slow. And I feel like I should be even saying the word slow to emphasize that. This civ doesn't rush you in Castle or Imperial to end the game. They might rush you with Knights in Castle to raid your eco, but it won't shut you out of the game. It's not like a Mongol player who suddenly turns up on the edge of your base, builds 5 trebuchets, and then middle fingers you from afar. This takes time. And that gives a lot of recovery for Beastie, who is now ready to make his way up. You can see the resource count looking good for him. Nice approach by Puppy Paw. Is going to block off the big goal from the high ground. My boy. My fellow Commonwealth. My fellow... What is that called? My fellow Commonwealth enthusiasts, you have just stripped CGQT of a valuable resource that he does require for the late game siege. That's going to be important there, folks, because if you look at the reserves, there's not much. And look at this. BCQE actually builds up the Great Wall Gatehouse in the corner because I think he wants to eventually go into the Granny Boys, which will be an interesting choice up against Longbows. I feel like, on average, the performance of Grenadiers versus Longbows is not that good because you can stagger formation with Longbows and they'll still all be in range of Grenadiers. And the attack speed are alright. That's the big difference. So you're moving in range all the while, And usually that enables the English player to be more defensive and better at trading with Grenadiers. More better, it sounds good to me, though. Now, the one difference maker can be these Nesta Bees. And 5 in the field could instantly wipe this battalion of Lombos. Trebuchet's not the most optimal target. No, not the monks. Poor guys. He's actually going to kill Trevor. Ooh, oh. I think this is the moment you regret no Springles. You can fix that, though. You have got to keep on the front line. Also, because you're up in the Imperial Age, you can actually improve the range on the Springles. I think the only reason Puppypool doesn't want to go Springles, though, is because if you do amass Springles, then BC can just push Siege here, the Bombards specifically. Clock Tower Bombards have a ridiculous amount of health. So Springles will do 120 damage, but you have 600 health, and you reduce 12 of that damage. It takes way too long to kill them. And the Bombards, in the meantime, can one-hit you via the 200 plus damage. That's right, you heard me correctly, folks. Age of Springwood is over. Even with the attack speed buff, it's just not a good trade. So instead, what's more realistic for Puppypool would be a transition into, say, Horseman. Because you need to rush the Nesta Bees. That's where the Man-at-Arms don't feel right here. The Man-at-Arms are going to struggle. He was building them before he saw the Nesta Bees, though. However, he did see one Nesta Bees earlier on, so he should have been informed this choice was coming out. All in all, though, if Puppypool wants, he can just take a very slow approach to this. He's still going to keep gaining ground. And, oh, Trebuchet shots! Oh, no! Oh, that's a loss. Actually, maybe not. The attack speed aura is not there. But he's going to cancel anyway. Yep, he realizes with the Lombos already in position, he can't do anything. We'll back away. That is a pain in the ass. Beastie, he worked hard for that stone, and he's only got so much in reserve. And you can see, like, he's actually made it obvious to Puppypool that this is the right choice now. The gold is too important. And the weird part is actually, if BC wanted, he could play up here. He doesn't need to contest this gold. But the reason he's going to contest it is because if Puppypool gets a stable stronghold here, he'll just breach your main base. You'll lose all your buildings. Might lose all your troops if you're Puppypool. Rush through, Man-at-Arms, able to get in range. STBs will have to wheel away. Small group of Palace Guard Spears were unable to actually hold the choke point. That would have been big. If he actually blocked that choke point, that's a massacre. But instead, the Man-at-Arms are going to dive. Very slow to gap close on the clock down Nesta Bees, though. And you can see he's going to lose most of them before. In fact, I don't even know if he kills one. Like, he gets one. He gets one. Second one blocked off, but oh, the repairs. Yeah, this doesn't feel good if you're Puppypool. You at least want like half these Nesta Bees gone. Gonna make the approach very difficult now. Now Trebs. Slightly stack up. Speaking of stack up, shout out to all the people that have actually donated to that wonderful charity so far. See actually at the top, already raising $300. Pretty hyped about that. I'll explain more after the game, but we're going to focus on this one, as I feel like we are in for the long haul. Does anyone sense an empty map coming? Because I think these guys aren't going to give up anytime soon. Bombards are stabilizing Beastie. Trebuchets aren't actually being sacrificed. Puppypool keeps getting them out. It's a big deal. He's, of course, into the shattering projectiles, which is going to be another big problem. In fact, wait. Has he got a Siege Workshop yet? That's a missed trick if not. He'd benefit a lot from getting the greased axles. Yeah, no greased axles yet. Surprising choice being made by Puppypool. Being able to disengage these Trebs is valuable. You want to build up to like 10, so you can just insta-Zerg every building down. And Cannoneers. Trying to deal with the Zerg coming out from BC. The cannon fodder with the choke point, just getting minimum value right now. Nesta Bees did retreat pretty far. Man-at-Arms are distracting him, so he's not even going for the premium units just yet. Come on, but... That's ambitious. Yeah, hand cannon is definitely being thrown away right now. I noticed we've got some new people in the chat who haven't actually like discovered Age of Empires 4 before. This is the 4th iteration, but very different from the previous ones. Games can vary. RTSs are very much like that. I'd say most game averages in the meta right now feel like maybe 30 minutes. But you can go up well over an hour. Especially when you get two players like this that park themselves in. I think this game is going to go quite long because of the way that they've carved up land now. Like, BC is always under pressure with the way that Puppy Paw has taken the map, but he's not going to be able to break out from this anytime too soon. Because of the way Puppy Paw's laid himself around the natural defenses and also the unit comp he keeps pushing. Don't make a mistake of it, folks. PC will eventually break out because this is late game Chinese with bombards. But every time he does, he might find himself stepping back. And any defenses he tries to get up at the forefront are going to be sieged quickly by these trebuchets. Central District now starting to stack up. I like this from Puppy Paw as well. A limiting factor for him when he's taking these fights, like he's pop capping and then he's not actually exchanging quick enough. He is fighting in BC's base, which means that BC will actually have the reinforcement rate. But as you get this proxy base in place, that starts to swing. Man-at-arms. Uh-oh, bombards. Late pack up. Molly's out. And this is the ridiculous part. Okay, this... Come on, guys. Let's be real. That many man-at-arms cannot kill a bombard. I'm glad Siege is getting tweaked. Because that's just insane. It's made even worse. Like, in most situations, that bombard dies that many man-at-arms. Not when you're the Chinese. Not when you get the 50% increased health. It feels impossible to deal with them. The tough part as well is these bombards, as you can see, have the range of a culverin. They have the range of a Springald with shutter triggers. So actually, Puppy Paw can't answer bombards with Springalds, the anti-siege unit. The only way he can actually deal with these bombards right now, in my opinion, is Horsemen. The man-at-arms aren't working. They're just dying. They're dying to the nest of bees. Here we go. Man-at-arms coming in. Whoop! This takes so bloody long to kill. And repairs coming out. It's tough as well, because here's the issue. Like, you know you're going to take at least 2 rounds of torches to burn these. And that only works if you stay on top of them, surrounding them. This is why Horsemen can be better for this. The Puppy Paw yet to make that transition. Never ending in his man-at-arms push. Even though he can actually afford the wood demand. Trebs. Trying to cover the keep going up. Looks like there's a massacre on the gold line as Puppy Paw is trying to extract those central resources. Looks like he's extending over this way. And oh, the timing. This is bad timing for BC. Look what's happening right now. He's only now moving out the gold we talked about a long time ago. And this is when Puppy Paw is trying to breach this area. He could force him away very fast here. Also, nice little detail here. Puppy Paw building up the outpost so he gets the attack speed aura. Will allow him to breach this defense much quicker. So we're breaching. BC making his way through the walls. Puppy Paw. Forward keeps are starting to crumble. We'll pull the villagers and try and keep it alive. But it's just impossible. This attack speed. Come on. Oh, the range, the attack speed, all of it just adding together. BC, though, whoops. He didn't finish the keep. He actually could have finished the keep as well. That was enough bombards to bring it down. But instead, I think he auto-aggroed onto the man-at-arms. Man-at-arms that are once again moving in. Once again fixated upon those nest of bees. I have to wonder at which stage you just turn around to kill off all the Chinese peasants. This is just like 3 of them. Look, 3 of them right now. La 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 la. Nice try. Puppy Paw. Oh my God, he can't even get the one. This has to be infuriating. I think he did snipe one out here in the end due to the trebuchets more than anything else. And that's the cool detail. The trebs are starting to like gain ground. That's why he keeps pushing the bombards back. BCQT, while he is getting reasonable trades, Puppy Paw kind of doesn't care because he's taken the unlimited conscription approach to war here. You know, just like 4 of you have been recruited into this like role. One of you gets a gun, one of you gets ammo, the other one can run alongside them. Have fun. And in the back, you got your premium value artillery that actually matters to you. Oh, they matter to you that much. You might want to protect them better than this. Palace Guard moving in. Not enough of them reaching. Oh, they got stuck on the university. What are they doing? Wait, was he moonwalking? I don't know what the hell he was doing. Styling. Another idea for Puppy Paw, like, is to exploit this flank. This flank is still only palisades. He doesn't know that, but he's starting to breach out now. Oh, even the villagers are joining in. So there you go. He gets on the gold, but already half of it being taken by BC. It's annoying for him to lose this source, but he got value out of it. And although Puppy Paw doesn't need the gold because infinite gold, as you are the English with enclosures, it's important to take this away from BC to stunt his game. now, Trebs. Starting to will away at these keeps. I'm looking forward to a lot of these changes coming in. I know Chinese players aren't, but for example, like keeps requiring stone to repair is good. I believe they're also making a change that will impact the range of bombards to bring them more in line, which I think is also good. I know Chinese players right now are Pepe hands like, no! The one thing that they had. Hopefully they get some other additions, or hopefully at least the attack speed or it's going to be coming their way works correctly. What is this wall out, Beastie? Wait, why would you wall this? What? I guess he needs the wood? This must be about the wood lines. The problem with this wall is, like, you won't be able to attack with your bombards, trebuchets will. This wall makes sense if you're the English, not if you're the Chinese. He does create a choke point, admittedly, but, like, your opponent can just delete his walls here. The point of this choke point is it's very useful for Nesta Bees, but the Nesta Bees pull is slowed down. Notice there's only 2 in the field now, and Beastie is full switching into Siege and Cutie mode as the bombard count continues to increase. North side. Looks like he was able to block out the bombard in the end. I was wondering when he noticed that. A few villages and a bombard alone was not going to be enough to clean up for Puppy Paw, so it looks like Beastie's getting the full value. And folks, he had a supervisor up here. 20% more gained, which means overall he actually made close to 10,000 gold off this corner. Wait, he was shooting through the... I still don't think the wall makes sense for Beastie, but... Okay. He was shooting over, which is a bit weird. I guess these are short trees. Man, I'm starting to march in. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, where are the villagers? They're going to get baited a little here. He needs to be careful and respect the damage that these man-at-arms now do. Even in small quantities, they can catch you off guard if you're not careful. Treb count starting to stack up a little, up to 5. He is being somewhat kept in check by the bombard snipes, though. The issue that you do have with your BC is these static defenses do get in the way of advancing. Remember, this is a 16-tile range unit up to a 12-tile range unit, so you're the one who always has to move forward. And if Puppy Paw sees you and is paying attention, he can always peel back before you can get in range. That's scary because if an English player is able to get up to like 10 trebs, the Sharon projectiles can absolutely brutalize your soul. Pass guard. Moving in. Puppy Paw. He doesn't want to leave the wood. He's like, I need this still. They both do. Beastie is running out of wood, actually. Oh my god. He has barely any. Man-at-Arms, response force will be in position to meet the pass guard. Pass guard. They won't fight that. It's a bad fight for them. They'll sidestep it and move away. And you can see that it's turned into a resource raid. Even with the increases in terms of like the wood on the map, it's still the limiting resource in a lot of matchups. Gold for some, so French, for example, value gold higher. But Chinese and English, it's all about wood. The Chinese can tax to make some gold in the hyper late game. And you can see a lot of tax building up here. 480. And of course, the English accrue gold for a similar means on their farms, by their farms themselves actually generating gold. Shout out to the guy back in the beta days of Age of Empires 4, who I remember fighting, and he was building palisades around his farms because he thought that was how you got gold. I'm not even making this up. Because he read about enclosures, and like logically, if you build palisades around a farm, you're enclosing it, right? Right? Just to confirm for people, enclosures is an Imperial Age research that allows you to generate gold by farming. You research it though, and you know when you've got it because these tiny walls go up. You do not have to build real walls. Oh, goodness. Oh my goodness, BC's finding his way through. Still no Yuan Dynasty. I actually don't think that BC's gone for double... No, he's still on Song. It's kind of peculiar to me how often players won't advance. Yuan Dynasty is such a big deal. I'd love to know what the thought process is in BC's mind as to why he doesn't want Yuan instead. I guess the granaries, maybe? But, like, you've got enough, right? You want to move forward. Didn't they fix that now? I'm pretty sure we still get the previous eco buildings. They resolved that. So, like, there used to be a logic behind it because you used to lose access, if I recall correctly. But now you don't. And pagodas would be even better. Like, yo, CGQT. Just gonna... Oh, wait, no, you only got one. Doesn't matter. But if you had more, even more reason. But like for real, like it's Yuan Dynasty more than anything. The movement speed is really good. Or you can skip for the Ming. Ming, I kind of understand him not racing for because it's very expensive. Now march in. Palace Guard. Starting to make their way deeper. Puppy Paw is finding his eco shrinking slowly but surely. It's slightly slowing him down. In fact, when we look at the resource gains, Puppy Paw is running out of gold fast. He can't keep up with the demand at this rate. He did switch into Bombards and Knights. The Man-at-Arms were already actually a strain in that regard. And into the choke point they go. Nesta B's only 2, though, from Beastie. Oh, Shattering Projectiles coming through. Trying to sidestep, moving in here. Hand Cannoneers and the Man-at-Arms. They can do heavy damage. Hand Cannoneers getting over half of their damage through onto the siege weapons. And look at this. CG QT, I think you may have overdone it, sir. That is a lot of Bombards. That is a lot of pop cap locked in. And a lot of exploitation for Puppy Paw. We'll dive in on Nesta Bees, brings them down one by one. Wrap around in the meantime for the Palace Guard getting top of the Hand Cannoneers. But the Man-at-Arms now in a little bit too deep to make it out. Instead, they will just go out the other side. And the other side in this situation is to Valhalla. As there is no way you escape off the edge of this map. That's not how things work. The Palace Guard, of course, can always chase you down. 1.38 compared to the 1.12. So you know you're not getting away. He does at least draw attention to the backside, and that's going to allow him to rebuild the next line of forces. Nope. This is why this is an efficient move. It's going to cost you troops, but if you bait your opponent's military force all the way to the back, you can then advance at the front. Or at bare minimum, make sure that when your opponent gets back in position, you once again have your full pop cap. BC is still being an absolute pain in the arse on the sides here, though. Puppy Paw, like, this is once again why, like, cavalry would be even more beneficial. Obviously not as much against the spears, but the issue you have with Man-at-Arms is how do you gap close? It takes him so long to respond to any of this. And he's starting to suffer on the backside. Like, BC is actually cutting him down. He needs to as well, because BC's ran out of gold himself. He got walled off from it in the end. He actually had to layer himself against flank attacks, as wood became the more important resource in this never-ending battlefield. Now, BC trying to yoink his stone as well. That would be infuriating for Puppy Paw because he doesn't actually have enough stone for reserve keeps, and he has limited stone in reserves. Hasn't gone to the back stone outcropping yet, but might find himself contested in that area, considering what BCQ is doing recently. It's just Palace Guard. Once again, like, I would love to see Yuan Dynasty now from Beastie. He leverages it so well. When you play into, like, I actually think the best reason to go Yuan Dynasty is when you're pushing hard Palace Guard. It turns them into two-legged cavalry. Like, when you get Yuan Dynasty with the increased movement speed, these units almost move as quick as Knights. In fact, when they get in charge, they do move as quick as Knights. Experiment going in deep again. More villagers going to be struck off the list. Puppy Paw is losing this game, by the way. Don't be deceived by his resource bank. Look at his eco. Long term, he can't sustain because his farms, especially, are being raided. And as this food number shrinks, with it, his gold income shrinks as well. Beastie, like, he's still got a lot of tax to sustain him. Like, he hasn't actually resorted to tax yet. If we check what his Imperial officials are up to, they're just getting all the wood. So he still has fullback gold. So before anyone goes, well, Beastie has no gold. Like, yeah, he only needs small quantities, and also he still has a way of gathering a lot of tax off this map. The issue for Puppy Paw is that he keeps well, not letting him in, but he can't stop him getting in. That chip away is a problem. Especially if BC starts to burn down the farms, because, like, although you see big bulk built up, like, Puppy Paw, like, logically, you need these farms, you need to replace them, and wood is the finite resource right now. And by the way, for those wondering, like, is BC going to run out? No, he's not. He's in the trade. And the problem that you now have is because BC keeps throwing Man-at-Arms to the back of your base and you keep reacting, you are unlikely to discover this anytime soon. Trade's online, folks. And this might make it obvious to Puppy Paw, but there's little he can do about it right now because Puppy Paw is yet to make a transition into cavalry, so he doesn't have a raid force to dive deep. This can be an upside and downside for the English. At this stage in the game, you really do fall onto this kind of slow, methodical siege. And with the trip count starting to increase as it is up to 8, this is where Poppy Paul will take a very prolonged approach to this game. A very calculated and slow crawl in. And what's this trade returning? It's going to be pretty good gains. Yep, yield is good. 171 gold. And this is going to keep BC afloat indefinitely. So if Poppy Paul wants to put an end to him, he either needs to send a flanking force down here to deal with this, or he needs to actually push in faster. The problem with sending a flanking force is he's still using static infantry. So the time it takes him to march around here will heavily weaken his frontal force, and that will allow another opportunity for BC to run straight into his base. Opportunity that BC will definitely take as he continues to pull more Palace Guard to the front line. I love the pointlessness of just burning the mining camp down. Yeah, take that after you've taken everything from me. Dude, the Palace Guard are just ridiculous. Once again, I want to emphasize, this is without Yuan Dynasty. With Yuan Dynasty, they would already be deep in the farmlands, killing everyone. And it's why I really want to see him go for it. Either that, or he could go Ming. In fact, Ming would be phenomenal right now because, once again, Poppy Paul is pushing static troops. If you go Ming, you could just, like, bum rush him with Grenadiers. You can catch him off guard. I think, actually, once again, I love Yuan even more because it's very rarely seen, but it has value in this game. Fire Lancers. Fire Lancers could just rush in and torch everything down. You only need, say, 20 of them at a time. And considering how slow Poppy Paul's pushes are, I don't feel like you'd lose much from having 20 pop cap missing from your defense. And for those asking, yes, Yuan Dynasty does affect Siege as well. Affects everything. I'm surprised they haven't changed that. I'm pretty, because they tweaked Yam, so Yam doesn't affect it, but the Siege still gets affected if I recall correctly. They didn't tweak that. Now, Raiden, Horseman, straight on the Trebuchets. A few freebies here. Interesting choice to go Horseman still. Like, I wonder in these games how many times it is just players forgetting about Yuan Dynasty. Because it does somewhat feel that way. And yes, people are right. Yuan Dynasty does also affect villagers, which means that you just juice them up to ridiculous degrees, like 1.4 movement speed. It's pretty dumb. Actually, I think it's closer to 1.5. 15% increase in speed is pretty notable. Your boys be zooming. Which is actually amazing for aggressive keep drops as well. And yes, it does also affect Imperial officials. Imperial officials that by default, as you can see, are a mere 1.12. If you're going to send them on taxing runs, it's damn effective. Horseman in again. The Sharon projectiles is countering this out somewhat. He's slowly putting a dent in the trip count, but this isn't your target again. The reason BC is okay with this, however, is because it's guarding against the tip-off. Now, BC is usually the type of guy that tells everyone else that someone's trading. Right now, he doesn't want any snitches telling about this. He doesn't want someone sneaking to the back of his base from Poppy Paul's army and relaying that critical information. And the trade is starting to stack up pretty heavy now. Up to 15. Once again, it's just the pullback. Like, you can never ignore it. At some point, you've got to feel like it's worth making room for a, like, full walling. The problem is, where does he do it? The way he set up his farms now, he didn't set them up at the full back. So he can't completely wall across here without deleting valuable farmlands with limited wood left over. And also, any deletion of these areas will put a gap in his production, in his gathering rates. Now, he could afford that right now, at least on the food, not so much on the gold. You see how slow this is becoming for both. It's 200 gold per minute. Oh, God. I can't help but chuckle because CG Cutie can't siege. He can't afford much more right now. It's actually quite amusing to me. I'm sorry, that's mean. The reason he's got Nested Bees, by the way, is because you do get them cheaper. You have a tech for that. So it's a little bit more cost efficient considering that Puppy Paw keeps trying to zerk you. Numbers are starting to increase, though. You can see the gold finally being dropped off. This is where you can afford new siege. And that's what I'm waiting for, him to reach that point. There it is, the Spirit Way. It's going to be the Granny, boys. Why pay for incredibly pricey siege when you can just get mini siege balls? Super cheap. The timing on this could actually put quite the dent in Puppy Paw if he doesn't pay attention. He's pushing a lot of static here. His trebuchets, his man-at-arms, his hand cannoneers, like, he doesn't have a great solution right now to the grenadiers. And in terms of siege, I think he still only has like one siege workshop which was used to research, not for pushing mangonels. He also doesn't have any keeps left, so he has no way of quickly getting mangonels, and that means he has no clear, quick counter to the grenadiers. Meanwhile, BC has finally got deep, and that's the problem, because these horsemen are going to start shutting down eco. Puppy Paw at some point also lost the house. We'll finally fix that, but look at the difference right now. 71 eco to the 137. This might be an overboom in the military department by Puppy Paw. I like the idea, but he's playing this too slow. And somehow, Beastie is getting away with only about 30 military pop cap at any given time. This can be one of the weaknesses. When you overboom military like this, the approach is slow, and you're giving time to react, and Beastie is using that time to build up AoE damage. No, not Age of Empires damage. Area of effect damage. Folks, I mean, I'm going to be baffled by this, but like Puppy Paw could very easily lose this game now. Despite the fact that he has a phenomenal reserve of resources, it might not count for much because he still hasn't switched to Horseman, which could have raided deep and found the caravans, done a lot of damage to eco potentially. And also now on top of that, he's up against splash damage. A lot of splash damage. And his army is going to be forced back. As quickly as it arrives, it has to run away. The Grenadiers are starting to stack up. And those premium hand cannoneers are being obliterated. And remember, Puppy Paw, he's playing as the English. For a start, the Wolves will stop him trading, but he doesn't really want to trade anyway. You feel like you get reasonable efficiency out of farms instead. The build-up, the delay in like your aggression, your ability to be aggressive, by going into trade, that transition will hit you hard. And although it will be a bigger uptake once you're up to about 50 traders than, say, having these farms, like the differential is not a good proposition engagement for an English player. And that's why he's not doing it. Instead, he continues to push. He's not gaining ground anymore, though. He's forfeiting it. Even Chugenu coming out, I think that might have been a misclick. I don't think BC wants to push Fuel Age Chugenu up against hand cannoneers and man-at-arms. Nesta Bees should be talking the hand cannoneers right now. That's why he's not getting the best of trades. And we arrived at that very tedious point in the game. This is something I really dislike about Grenadiers. Because they're so chunky on the health, they get used as a very weird frontline unit. And it's kind of weird when you consider that hand cannoneers have similar health, but they don't get treated the same way. I think the reason they get treated as throwaway frontline units is this Spirit Way. This discount is substantial. Look at the cost here. 84 food, 42 wood, 42 gold. This should cost what a hand cannoneer does, but it doesn't. Hand cannoneers cost 240 resources. On top of that, you push this unit quicker. As you can see there, the 22 seconds compared to the 26 seconds. The hand cannoneers in this hyper late game situation doesn't sound like much, but it does add up. Right now, the solution really would be to get mangonels. Problem, however, is that you haven't stopped the bombard push. Like, there's always a few bombards, and that'll strike your mangonels. We're reaching a stage where even Puppy Paw, after bulking up these huge reserves, has to be very careful about the way he spends his money. Remember when he was 10k food and wood? Those days are gone. The food, he could kind of replace that over time if there's not too much strain on his push. Wood, not so much. The wood is quickly depleting. There's barely anything left on the map now. You can see that actually the only one with access to the big remainers is Beastie. Archers. Trying to stabilize him, but I just... the issue for me right now is this has been basically the same strategy for Puppy Paw for close to 30 minutes, actually. Because he did try to push a few hand cannons quite early on, remember. And he built the Lombos and Man-at-Arms as well as the Trebs. Like, nothing about what Puppy Paw has done for the last half an hour has changed. And I don't know if Puppy Paw has ever played the Far Cry games, but I hear it has a great definition of insanity that you might want to learn. And it might be an important lesson in this game. Grenadiers instantly going to start wiping the Man-at-Arms. This is the problem. Like, the keeper's at least going down. That's the one upside. But are you going to be able to flood through afterwards is my chief concern right now. The problem you also have is he doesn't want BC to pop cap, because if BC pop caps, the saturation damage out from the Grenadier waves will wipe them out. Right now, the Nest of Bees are looking to wipe them out as well. Dive in, trying to force some congestion here. Grenadiers get ready to fight. Nest of Bees trying to get rid of the front line. So many Lombowmen. Now Puppy Paw over-calibrating into the Lombo battalion. Could this be a saving grace? It's good against the Grenadiers, not so good against the Nest of Bees, though. Puppy Paw forced to back out. Already used the arrow volley. Even villagers chasing him away. Grenny's trying to get in on this action. Nest of Bees never able to stay in range long here. Might be the difference maker. And Puppy Paw, I actually like this play now. Going harder in the Lombos can work out here. As he's baiting the bombards out. He's baiting the Nest of Bees to keep on chasing instead of firing. And he's also baiting the Grenadiers out of position to be sniped out. Wrap around, and that's just not enough horsemen. Is BC overpopped? 120 does feel a bit too high, but he can't afford the Grenadiers if he changes it. The issue I now see for BC is his switch up into Lombos forces his hand. He needs more Nest of Bees. Yep, there it is. Yep, my boy BC, he knows. 5 Nest of Bees being built right now because he can insta-wipe the Lombo army. Needs to make sure he keeps the front line, though, because otherwise the Man-at-Arms are going to overwhelm. You keep going up defensively. More bombards and Nest of Bees coming out. The splash damage can be big here. Needs to start targeting, though, before the incendiary arrows take him out. Right now, the Nest of Bees, what are they doing? Well, he's being pulled back here. Siege workshops are being exposed. Puppy Paw, if he moves up now with the trebuchets and snipes these out, he's going to slow down the counter to his Zerg. Full retreat coming out. Nest of Bees trying to stabilize. Lombos are now going to have to back up as the melee front line is gone. BC once again surrendering ground. Puppy Paw now maintaining it. Moves in, and this is big. Folks, he's been pushing, but he's been pushing without the attack speed. But that's back online. Gatling gun Gatling gun mode, rather, activated. Hum the Royal Britannia song. Because this is where Lombos can dunk everything BC's doing again. Thus he switches up into the Grenadiers and the Lancers. Grenny's still a core component of what he's trying to push here, but heavy strain. Food is now starting to suffer as he switches up those Lancers. Lancers at 140 food each. Man-at-Arms there to contest. The heavy damage coming out of the Lombos, enough to push him away. Nest of Bees, splash is good. Half of it's gone. That's big. Beastie needs to be careful. The micro needs to be on point. Much for him as it is for Puppy Paw in an unorthodox situation. Puppy Paw, usually just Neo when it comes to dodging long-range projectiles, is going to be wiped. That mistake is going to cost him dearly. That's going to push him back to the fold. The Trebuchet is getting overly ambitious. I don't know what that was. That must have been a mistake out of Puppy Paw. That mistake has just cost him a lot. The siege is gone. The Lombos are gone. He needs to reset, and BC is going to get breathing room that's going to enable him to inflate further as he's now up to 42 traders. Oh my good God. No raiders coming out, nothing. Like the problem that, I don't know, maybe Puppy Paw, like remember, he had to bug out a week number 1 due to technical issues. I think he spilled some energy drink or something on his keyboard. Wonder if that keyboard is still holding on to some of the sticky goods inside. Because that looked like a complete fumble. The Trebuchets, the Lombos, nothing moving. Trebuchets moving to their death. And all of a sudden with that, he's going to forfeit a lot of ground. BC's reclaiming territory. That mistake alone, the Man-at-Arms raid, you guys can cheer for it all you want, but 2 MAA is not going to cut it. A single bombard is going to cut them down. He at least now knows that trading is happening, but Poppy Paw, still with static formations of troops, cannot do much to flank attack there. Speaking of flank attacks, the Lancers went even deeper. Forces a response, and Poppy Paw, at least he rebuilt his eco now, but he's going to have to keep rebuilding. The Lancers getting even deeper. Can we just highlight how fabulous Chinese Elite Lancers look? They do look phenomenal. I thought I looked good with my several ties on my head, but these guys are astoundingly beautiful. Look at that. The blue tanned leather. Brilliant. Speaking of astounding things to discover, or even look at, Poppy Paw, there's so many Nest of Bees here that if you looked at them for too long, you would go blind. Honest to God, like, Beastie Cutie, I don't know if it's his birthday, he wants a firework display or something, but we're heading towards that. These Nest of Bees. First wave gone. Poppy Paw needs to back away fast. Luckily for him, the Nest of Bees take too long to reload. That would have been a disaster. Army wiped would have allowed even more ground over to Beastie. And that's where Poppy Paw needs to be careful, playing that static force now. And Beastie, because he gets the breathing room, now going hardcore into the Nest of Bees, and also now on the walls. Anakin, I have the high ground. Meet your Obi-Wan for the game. Grenadiers now up at 7.2 tile range. That's more range than longbows. And that detail might be the detail that matters here. Beastie could be in a wall crawl. A wall crawl that would stop Poppy Paw from responding in any way. And now the Nest of Bees! The man-at-arms, they're all gone. Oh, no, 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 no. That's a heavy pop cap hit. That's going to be more ground gained. Beastie moving in. Now taking out your forward infrastructure. That's going to slow down your reinforcement rates. And this is a snowballing effect, folks. These things begin to catalyze. As you start to lose these gains, as you start to lose that forward infrastructure, every time you lose an army, it takes you longer to replace it. And right now, Poppy Paw is at risk of never being able to reach pop cap. And the outpost crawl in now as well. The bombard sniping out small trickles of troops. This is another issue. These aren't siege weapons. Don't be deceived. These right here, these are very large snipers. They've been eating a cake a lot. They've been, working out the gym, bulking up. They're basically so childly. They're like that one guy from the Star Wars series with the clones, where he can basically like bench press a tank. Like, let me put this the correct way for you. These guys right here, you see these guys? They look really cool, right? Really bulky, really strong. These are called pins. And these are the bowling balls. Guess how those two things interact? Yep, you would be right. Bowling ball always wins. Except when I'm rolling it in a bowling place. We're going to talk about that. It's Ray around the back. It's drawn most of Poppy Paw's troops as well. It's going to slow him down even further. This has always been his issue. Like, so much of this game has just been these raids around the back 24/7. He's never been able to stop it, so he's always reacting. Every time he thought that maybe Poppy Paw could gain ground, he loses it. And in this situation, with the amount of Nest of Bees in the field, like, he doesn't have the answers anymore. And he hasn't waved the white flag just yet, but if you want to find a way back into this game for Poppy Paw, I think he'd welcome it. Unless he switches into Horseman, he has no way of reaching the Nest of Bees. Even Horseman, you need some intense micro because the splash damage coming out could wipe a cavalry battalion. It's going to wipe your army. Watch this. It's Independence Day. Celebrations in the sky. Gap close upon the Nest of Bees, but so many bombards here to snipe out the few that make it through. Nest of Bees being eviscerated quickly by the hand cannoneers, but the hand cannoneers turned upon by the Nest of Bees. The Grenadiers as well, now adding into the mix. Of barely any troops left. He gets through the Bees, but now Poppy Paw struggling to keep up the push. Beastie quickly replacing. Look at this. He's like, oh, I'm not done there. I'm not done, mate. I got more where that came from. Lancers wiggling their way between the tree and the wall. No flood through now. Says, hello. Where are you going, Poppy Paw? To my base? No, let's go check out yours. Beastie cutie. You have to give him credit. His transitions were just better than Poppy Paw. Poppy Paw has spent the better part of an hour doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. Beastie, the transitions, he went hard into Nest of Bees. He switched over into the pass guard to rush through. He eventually moved into Lances. He moved into the Grenadiers. He returns to Nest of Bees when he forces a clump force and can build them in mass. And now he's able to push through. That's the difference. Age of Empires 4 is a game of transitions. You can't keep doing the same damn thing over and over again. Gone are the release days when you could cheese with one unit so easily. Gone are the days of Roost Horse Archers forever and ever. You have to change it up. Poppy Ball. Never really got to that change up. More ground being exposed, his base being shrunk further. He sure started with enough of it so he could afford to lose some of it. But what you can't afford to lose are these farmland areas. It's not even about the food. Ignore the food right now. Don't look at that food and go, oh, Puppy Paw. He can feed the world right now. What a charitable, lovely man. I'm more concerned with how he pays his debts, the debt of war. Because as these farms go down, so do does his gold income. That's where he's getting it all from right now. There are no gold veins left for him to access. This is the only one on the map, and nobody wants it. This one as well, barely in existence with 97 gold. The person who's never running out of gold in this game is going to be Beastie because his gold reserves aren't this. They're not in the front line. They're in the back line. And gold is good for Beastie. Poppy Ball on his last legs. The trebuchets, the hard press of trebuchets. He can't directly combat the bombards. He's resorted to maximum range here. Shattering projectiles are going to get through them, but it takes them so damn long that more ground's going to be forfeited. Lance is starting to dive in. Wave after wave coming. And every time you think you're done with a siege, CGQE has a new present for you. Surprise, it's that same set of socks he's been buying you every year. It's more bombards. And the Lancers, like, they're just going to rip this apart now. Puppy Paw, the floodgates are open. He hasn't even got a choke point to hold anymore. The trebuchets are exposed. Troops not in position to defend, and Puppy Paw will admit it. He cannot best him. BCQ will beat him on Altai. Transitions win games. And that's why Beastie is the king.